Well, welcome, Southside. My name is Seth. If you're new, a special welcome to you. We're so glad you could join us here today. If you're comfortable, why don't we stand and let's sing and worship together. Before I reach out my arms, you open up yours. And before I pour out my heart, you know every thought. And I will be anxious for nothing. Hold on to one thing, my comfort, my peace. I will be safe in your presence, so fierce and so tender. My comfort, my peace. Come on, sing your voice. Your voice, stronger than fear, waits in the night. Your words tear through the dark, flooded with light, fill it with fire. I will be anxious for nothing. Hold on to one thing, my comfort, my peace. I will be safe in your presence, so fierce and so tender. My comfort, my peace. Oh, my comfort. You are my peace. You won't forsake me. You won't betray me. You'll never fail me, and I won't be afraid. You won't forsake me. You won't betray me. You'll never fail me, and I won't be afraid. Come on, sing it out. You won't protect me. You will defend me. You're standing with me, and I won't be afraid. You will protect me. You will defend me. caught up in your presence, and I just wanna sit here at your feet. I'm caught up in this holy moment, never wanna leave. Oh, I'm not here for blessing, Jesus, you don't owe me anything more than anything that you can do. I just want you. I'm sorry when I've just gone through the motions. I'm sorry when I just sang another song. Take me back to where we started. I open up my heart to you. And I'm sorry when I've come with my agenda. I'm sorry when I forgot that you're enough. Take me back to where we started. I open up my heart to you. I'm caught up in your presence, I just wanna sit here at your feet. I'm caught up in this holy moment, never wanna leave. Oh, I'm not here for blessing, Jesus, you don't owe me anything more than anything that you can do. I just want you. I just want you. Nothing else. Nothing else. Nothing else will do. I just want you. Nothing else. Nothing else. Nothing else will do. I just want you. Nothing else. Nothing else. Nothing else will do. I just want you. Nothing else. Nothing else. Nothing else will do. I just want you. Nothing else. Nothing else. Nothing else will do. up in your presence. And I just wanna sit here at your feet, caught up in this holy moment. I never wanna leave. Oh, I'm not here for blessing. Jesus, you don't owe me anything more than anything that you can do. I just want you. You may be seated.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Southside Church. My name is Spencer, and I am the youth pastor here, and I'm so glad that you are joining us this morning. I wanted to take a quick moment and talk to a specific group of people. If you're here and you are new or new-ish to Southside Church, maybe today is actually your very first Sunday joining us. I just want to say how excited I am that you're here with us today. And what I wanted you to do right now is actually pull out your cell phone and text the word hello to our phone number, 604-670-3040. This is going to take you to our online Connect card, and it takes only about 30 seconds to fill it out, but it allows for us to get to know you better and to actually know how we can serve you best. And what I think is pretty cool is that once you do that, we will actually send you a $5 Starbucks card as a bit of a welcome here gift. You know, there's always incredible things going on here at Southside for you and your family, and summer is no exception, okay? So coming up this month on July the 16th and the 17th, we actually have our kids team putting on a camp called Ready, Set, Move. This is a sports camp that we ran last year, and it's happening again this year. It's absolutely incredible. We're partnering with BC Bounce and with the Chilliwack Football Club. This is something that you will not want to miss. And then on the 24th of July, we actually have our first youth summer party or event. We are actually going to be having a beach party here. We're going to have a limbo contest. We're going to have a volleyball tournament. We're going to have snacks and prizes. It's going to be super awesome. And you know, there's actually going to be events for everybody of all ages, so don't you worry. If you text news to 604-670-3040, you can see all of our events. For all the details and to sign up, you can find it all there. We're now going to transition into the message portion of the service. Pastor Mike has prepared an incredible message today, and I believe that God wants to speak to you. And so I'm going to ask that you join me in making this space a distraction-free environment by silencing your phone, by actually turning off any alarms that you may have set, and by actually remaining in your seat for the entirety of the message, because I believe that you will not want to miss a moment. And so why don't you join me as we lean in and listen, and I will see you again at the end of the service.
Well, good morning. I want to start out today by telling you something that might surprise you. And the reason why I say it might surprise you is if you walked in here today, your first time ever walking into church, or whether you're joining us for church online today for the first time ever, for the first time in a long, long, long time, what I'm about to say will actually not surprise you. However, what I'm going to say is going to surprise you more the longer you've spent time in church. Okay, you ready? Here it is. There is a growing number of Canadians who will not set foot in a church. And the reason is not because they don't believe what the church believes. The reason why this growing number of Canadians who won't set foot in church is because they don't think the church believes what the church says it believes. That's interesting, isn't it? Like here we are in 2024, and experts say the world has never been more spiritually hungry than we are today. I think what they're saying is this, that people around the world have kind of looked at this last decade and said, there's got to be more than this. You know what I mean? There's got to be more than meets the eye. Like, I need more than this world has to offer. And they're open to suggestions. Like, you can't walk 5 steps in the world today without hearing the word tolerance, 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 tolerance. And yet, there's a growing number of Canadians who won't set foot in a church, not because they don't believe what the church believes, but because they don't think the church believes what the church says it believes. I think it was Brennan Manning years and years ago who said this: the single greatest cause of atheism today is Christians who confess Jesus with their mouth and then walk out the doors and deny him with their lifestyle. He goes on to say this: that is what an unbelieving world finds simply unbelievable. Now, it's a somewhat dated quote, isn't it? Because the truth is, atheism itself has fallen off a cliff. So maybe a better way to modernize Brennan Manning's quote would be this: that's what a world that is desperate for something to believe in finds so incredibly disappointing. We live in a world where people are looking for something to believe in. They're open, but they're not open to this. They're not open to somebody or a group of somebodies who says they believe one thing, but they don't really believe it. Let me bring that closer to home. The reason why your mom or your dad, the reason why your brother or your sister, your friend or your neighbor might not ever set foot in church, the reason why your son, your daughter, your grandson, your granddaughter, your niece, your nephew might walk away from church one day, it is not because they don't believe what the church believes. It's because they're going to come to a conclusion that they don't think the church believes what the church says it believes. And when I was a teenager, my parents had become Christians. And my attitude towards them was not adversarial at all. I looked at them thinking this: I'm really happy for you guys. It seems to be working for you. Like, what's good for you is good for you, but it's not necessarily good for me. Like, I had seen a change in them and it seemed genuine, but I had no idea whether that actually applied to me or meant anything to me at all. And then one day, my dad took me shopping to buy a horse trailer. I want to stop there for a second. Now, some of you, you're pretty new to Southside and you've never heard this story before. Can I tell you something? You're going to love it. It's going to be a story that you probably won't ever forget, or you won't forget it for a long, long time. It perfectly illustrates the point that we're making in this sermon. But some of you have heard this story before, and I want to ask you to do me a huge favor. Could you please try to listen to this story with new, fresh ears? In fact, can you do this for me? Can you ask yourself, as we're walking through this story, what kind of life would you have to live so that the people in your life, like your friends and your neighbors, your kids, your family, would look at you the way that I looked at my dad that day? So anyways, my mom and my dad and my little sister were really into horses. I was not into horses at all. I was most definitely not into horse trailers, but I had told my mom and dad that I had nothing going on this particular day. So my dad knew I had no excuses. He says, "Hey, do you want to go buy a horse trailer with me?" And so I said yes. And we went into Red Deer from out in the country where we lived, and we looked all over the place for a horse trailer. I was about 14 or 15 years old, and I got to admit, I got kind of into it. Maybe it's my Dutch heritage, it was just the quest for a good deal. I had been working part-time at a full-serve gas station, which is a story I'll say for another time. Absolutely awesome, by the way. But I had been working since the day that I turned 14, so I kind of had an idea of money and the worth of money, and I was just on this quest to win. What was the competition? Get a good deal, We're going to win this competition to get a good deal on a horse trailer. So we went all over the place, and then on the way home, on the way back out to the country, we made one last stop. And the place we stopped was an old ranch. And the rancher had died, and his widow was selling off a bunch of their horse stuff. And as we drove onto their property, I could tell that they could really use the money. It looked really, really run down. One of the things that she was selling was a horse trailer. So we went over and we had a look, and we're standing there. Eventually she walked up, and my dad asked her a question like, hey, how much do you want for the horse trailer? And I think she said something like this. She said, I don't really know what all this stuff is worth, but would you give me blank dollars for it? As soon as she said blank dollars, I did like a fist bump, like an invisible fist bump, like a inside fist bump. I was so stoked because when she quoted that price, when she said blank dollars, would you give me blank dollars for it? The price that she gave was way, way, way too low. Like, remember, we had spent all day looking at horse trailers. I had a good idea of what they were worth, and she quotes this price. It's just way too low. And I'm just stoked, right? Like, we're going to win. The competition, get a great deal. And I'm thinking, we're going to win this thing. At 14 or 15 years old, I don't think it ever crossed my mind that for us to win on that particular day, she was going to have to lose. Even at that age, I did feel sort of sorry for her. But I guess I kind of thought this: not our fault, not our problem, not our circus, not our monkeys. Not our fault, not our problem. I want you to remember those two statements, by the way. Not our fault, not our problem. I'm going to talk about those two statements a little bit later today. My dad says, we'll take it. I'm like, yeah, we do, Pops. I mean, you better believe we take it. Are you kidding me? Like, we better buy this thing before somebody else comes along and buys it for this incredible deal. So I'm standing kind of behind my dad, and he pulls out his checkbook and he goes to write a check. Okay, some of you young punks, you don't know what a check is. Okay, let me help you. It's like an e-transfer that you write on a piece of paper. That's what a check is, okay? It's a little bit old school, but just bear with me. So I'm standing kind of behind my dad, and he goes to write the check out. And I'm still like just stoked. We won, right? But then I notice the number that he's putting on the check. And the amount isn't the amount that she was asking for the horse trailer. The amount that he made the check out for was, well, it was actually what the horse trailer was worth, way, way more than she was asking. He made the check out for what the horse trailer was worth, maybe plus a little bit. Now, I want to tell you, just so you understand something, our family wasn't incredibly wealthy. Like, this horse trailer was a pretty big purchase. And for my dad to write that number instead of the number that she quoted was a sacrifice. And then he handed her the check, and she said, thank you. And I was just really proud in that moment that he was my dad. Also, I came to this conclusion in that moment. I might not believe what my dad believes, but I know for sure that he believes what he says he believes. Now, I couldn't have quoted James chapter 1, verse 27 for you back then, but I was pretty sure the Bible said something like this in it. Religion that God our Father accepts as pure and faultless is this: to look after orphans and widows in their distress and to keep oneself from being polluted by the world. This world system, this scarcity system that says, I gotta win, and for me to win, somebody has to lose. See, we're preaching through the Old Testament book of Proverbs, and Proverbs is a book of wisdom. And if you read through the book, it talks about the link, the connection, the bond between wisdom and justice. Wisdom and justice. Proverbs 29 says this: the righteous care about justice for the poor, but the wicked have no such concern. It's the Old Testament book of Micah, chapter 6, verse 8, says it this way: what does God require of you? Do justice, love mercy, walk humbly with your God. Do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God. And if you do that, I bet that no one in this world even those who don't believe what you believe would ever think that you don't believe what you say you believe. So today I want to talk about justice. I want to make 3 points. Number one, this world is broken. Number two, we don't feel like fixing it. Number one, this world is broken. Number two, we don't feel like fixing it. Number three, we get to. So number one, this world is broken. I don't need to convince you of that, whether you're a church person or not a church person. I think we all get it, right? You hear people say sometimes, man, in a perfect world, blah, blah, blah. Well, yeah, the very fact that you're saying in a perfect world says our world is not perfect. In a perfect world, there would be no sickness, there would be no disease, there would be no pollution, there would be no scarcity, there would be no death, but there is. This world is broken. We see it emotionally. We see a world full of people longing for peace but finding anxiety. They're longing for joy, but they're finding discouragement or even depression. We see it existentially. See, because we're part of this world, you know? Have you ever wondered, how frustrating is this? That our desires don't always match up with our rationality or our conscience. Let me say that a different way. The things that we feel like doing aren't always the things that we know are smart and are good. One of the best examples I could give you is back into the 1990s. There was this filmmaker named Woody Allen. He was cheating on his wife. Woody Allen was 56 years old. He was cheating on his wife with his 22-year-old stepdaughter. When asked about it later, he said, "The heart wants what it wants." Isn't that interesting? Like the things that we feel like doing so often aren't what we know is the right thing to do or the smart thing to do. Our rationality and our conscience often don't line up with our desires. It's like this. I bet for you and me, most of us, we mostly know what we should be eating, don't we? You know what I mean? Like we know what we need to eat to hit our fitness goals. You know, to be full of energy, full of vitality, full of strength, full of life. We pretty much know what we should eat. And yet, do you always eat what you should eat? No, you don't. Either do I. Why? Because the heart wants what it wants. Like sometimes what we feel like doing isn't what we know is the smart thing to do or the right thing to do. Or how about this? There's a way that you probably know that you should, that you want to talk to your kids, talk to your spouse. And most of the time you do. Most of the time your feelings and your conscience, they line up just really, really well. But sometimes what do they say? You're on your last nerve. You know what I mean? Like you're having a bad day and they're super annoying. And in the moment you speak in a way that you know isn't the way that you want to speak. Why? Because sometimes our feelings don't match up with what we know is right and what we know is good. I think the Apostle Paul said it this way in Romans chapter 7. The things that I want to do, I don't do. And the things that I don't want to do, I do. This world is broken. We can see it by looking at our own lives. We can see it by looking at our own lives individually, but also collectively. In a perfect world, how would we live together? Well, we'd live together in kindness. We'd live together in peace. We'd live together in love. We'd live together in justice. But that's not always the way that it looks. Our society doesn't always look that way. Sometimes our society looks like racism, division, enmity, anger, and injustice. So point number one today is this. This world is broken. Point number two, we don't feel like fixing it. We don't feel like fixing it. The heart wants what it wants, but I don't know, sometimes the stuff that we feel like doing, I don't know, like I think it's important to note that for all of us, we have a bent, we have a feeling, we have a proclivity at times towards living an inward focused life. I can prove it to you, by the way. Have you posted a picture on your social media in the last 6 months? A group photo. Have you posted a group photo over the last 6 months? If you did, so let's say there was 15 people on that group photo that you posted on your social media, okay? I want to ask you this simple question. Of the 15 people on that group photo, which is the person who you looked at to make sure they were looking good the most? In fact, can I take that a step further? Who is the person that quite possibly was the only person you ever looked like? Like, I bet you if I dug hard enough through your social media, I could find a group photo with you in it, like standing there, like shining like a diamond, like looking just amazingly great, where everyone around you is picking their nose, closing their eyes, and making weird hand gestures. Why? Because there's something inside of you, there's something inside of me. We kind of got this bent, we got this feeling towards being inward focused. We also have a bent towards self-centeredness. It's July 7th, 2024. It's wedding season, you know. I've been to a lot of weddings in my life. I don't officiate weddings anymore, but I used to, and I've been to a lot of weddings. And there's something I was just thinking about as I was preparing for this talk. Speeches at wedding receptions. Aren't they interesting? Have you ever actually thought of the speeches that people give at wedding receptions? Because what's the point of the speech supposed to be? Well, it's a toast to the bride. It's a toast to the groom. And so what you would think then is the person who is giving the speech, that their number one goal is what? I want to just encourage the bride or the groom. I want to lift them up. I want to send them off. I want to just have them soaring. I really want to honor them. Have you been to many wedding receptions where that's actually the speech? Bet you haven't. Why? It's easy. We all have a bent. We all have feelings that take us towards self-centeredness. It's a toast to the who? No. I want to be funny. I want to crack some jokes. I want to make sure that I do a good job for me. We forget the purpose. Why? Because we all have a bent towards self-centeredness. We all have a bent towards living a life that's more about getting than it is about giving. And that's why when we run into somebody who really, really needs our help, has nothing to give us, but needs something from us, we have a tendency, if we don't think about it, we're just going to take a step back right away. And we're going to come up with 2 excuses without even trying. They'll hit us very fast. Remember I talked to you earlier, not my fault, not my problem. Not my circus, not my monkeys. Not my circus, not my monkeys. Not my fault, not my problem. Happens all the time. So you look at this person, you look at this family in front of you that really, really needs help of some kind. And without even trying, you begin to think this, well, it's not my fault. It's their fault. And here's the amazing thing about this world that we live in. We already said this world is broken. We all struggle. So if you really, really, really try hard enough, you will always be able to come up with a reason why that person standing in front of you, why that family standing in front of you who really, really needs your help, why it's actually all their fault. You can always find something. It's an amazing concept though, isn't it? To think that way. You just imagine this thought. You meet a young man who was raised by a single mom who struggled with addiction. And when he was growing up, he was abused by the men that would come in and out of his mother's life. That him and his mom spent time homeless, and he spent his entire childhood wondering where his next meal was going to come from. You say, Mike, did you just make that story up? Well, sort of. In my years of being a high school teacher and being a pastor here at Southside Church, that was a tame version of stories that I hear every single week. But isn't it amazing? We look at a young man who's lived that life, and then he turns 19 years old, and we go, oh, come on, man. Light it up. What are you waiting for? Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You got this. Come on, man. Get your crap together. And by God's grace, you know what's crazy? Is I've seen many men and many women do just that with God's help. They found healing. They found forgiveness. They found restoration, and they've built a beautiful life, and it's a miracle, and it's amazing, and I love it. And that's the goal, and that's the dream, and that's the prayer. However, don't you think it would be a little bit absurd of me, someone raised in a stable home with a mom and dad who love me very much, to look at that young man or a young woman in those same shoes and say this, hey man, we've had the same head start. I don't think so. Not my fault. Oh, not my problem. Without even trying. That'll be the second one that comes up. We'll think to ourselves, it's not my problem. You'll hear people say stuff like this. The system should really do something for that person. And the government should really be helping more than they do. Or how about this one? The church needs to help. I find that concept super interesting. The church needs to help. Sometimes people will come to me and they'll go, man, Southside Church is so generous. And when they do that, I always try to dig a little bit deeper. So I say, what do you mean by Southside Church? Right? Because Southside Church isn't a building. We get that, right? Southside Church isn't service on Sunday mornings. It's not an organization. Southside Church is us. Southside Church is we. We are Southside Church. It's a movement. We are a people. So when I explain that to people, they're kind of shocked. Like I still think there's actually people in our world that think that churches like Southside, that we run by that we get a check from, like Justin Trudeau's in Ottawa every month, signing a check for us, putting in an envelope, licking a stamp, putting the stamp on the envelope, and sending it off to Southside Church. Can I tell you, that's not where the money comes from. Like if you're sitting here and you're new or you're newish, and you're looking around at this building and go, man, what a cool building. Know this, that this building was built by a bunch of men and a bunch of women who just said, I don't really feel like helping, but I'm going to. But I'll explain that to people. I'll say, well, Southside Church isn't an organization. It's not a building. It's not a service. It's a people. It's a people. And they'll say, okay, that's fine then. So the people of Southside Church are really generous. And my response is always the same. Well, no, not really. Not if you mean that the people of Southside Church, like me, have a genetic predisposition to generosity. That's not true. We have the same feelings as anybody else. I still have the same temptation that you do to be inward focused. I still have the same temptation to be self-centered. I still have the same temptation. You still have the same temptation to live a life that's all about getting instead of an all about giving. See, here's the truth. This world is broken. And we don't feel like fixing it. But point number 3, we get to. So before I go any further, I want to talk to you if you're new or newish here, watching online or here in person, and you stayed away from church for a long time. Because you met some church people along the way, or you saw a church along the way and you thought, man, they don't believe what they say they believe. I want to tell you, man, I'm so sorry. I apologize. I know for me, and I know for the people here at Southside Church, we're so imperfect. We get it wrong sometimes, but I do want to tell you what we're all about. I do want to tell you what we're trying to do. What we're trying to do is we're trying to do justice and love mercy and walk humbly with our God. And I bet if you watch us carefully, you'll see us slip up sometimes, but I think you're going to see that theme. You're going to see us doing justice, love and mercy, and walking humbly with our God. Why? Well, in Matthew chapter 25, Jesus said that one day I'm going to step out of this temporal existence. You and I, our time on this planet is going to expire one day, and we're going to step into eternity. And what a moment that's going to be, by the way. Like a whole life that we've spent thinking, there's got to be more, there's got to be more, there's got to be more to this. We're going to step into eternity and go, okay, this is the more that I've been longing for, beyond my ability to even imagine, but this is it. This is what I was made for. This is what I was built for. We're going to step into an eternity free of disease, free of sickness, free of enmity, free of pollution, free of injustice. Jesus is going to say, I prepared this place for you. A new heaven and a new earth. Imagine that. A new heaven and a new earth. No more pollution. No more rot. None of that. A new Chilliwack, a new Red Deer, a new Paris, a new London, a new Rocky Mountains, a new Cultus Lake, a new Pacific Ocean, recognizable but infinitely more. And we're going to be together, and we're going to get along, and there's going to be kindness, and there's going to be compassion, there's going to be love, and there's going to be adventure, and there's going to be fun. It's going to be absolutely incredible. And we're going to step into eternity, and we're going to meet Jesus. And it's going to be like a first-time meeting combined with a reunion with the most impressive person that we could ever imagine, the most loving, the most compassionate, the greatest person who we could ever imagine living. And we're going to meet him face to face, the best friend that we never knew exactly face to face, but we're going to know him when we meet him. And he's going to look at you, and he's going to look at me, and he's going to say, well done. Well done. I was hungry and you gave me something to eat, Jesus is going to say. I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink. I was a prisoner and you visited me. I was a stranger and you welcomed me in. I was sick and you helped me. I was naked and you clothed me. And we're probably going to look at Jesus in that moment and go, I don't really know what you mean. Like, I'm pretty sure that if I ever would have met you, Jesus, I would have remembered that. Like, if I would have visited you in prison, I think I would have remembered it. And Jesus is going to say, no, you don't get it. Whatever you did for the least of these, you did it for me. Jesus is going to say, whatever you did for the widow and the orphan, whatever you did for the lost and the lonely, whatever you did for the hurting and the hopeless, whatever you did for the broken and the bruised, you did it for me. I think Mother Teresa must have had Matthew chapter 25 in mind when someone asked her one day, Mother Teresa, who do you see? Who do you see when you walk the streets of your city? Working with the poorest of the poor, working with the broken and the dying, working with lepers, with running sores. Who do you see? And without hesitation, Mother Teresa said, I see Jesus in distressing disguise. This world is broken. We don't always feel like fixing it, but we get to. Somewhere along the line, we've made a decision. You know what we're going to do? We're going to do justice. And we're going to love mercy. And we're going to walk humbly with our God. Let me show you what I mean.
Hi, my name is Jessica Reddy. Though I was raised in a Christian home growing up, what I really remember from most of my childhood is pain. My parents were divorced when I was young. My father was an addict, and I was sexually abused from a family member for years. I had my first drink when I was 14, and I became pregnant at 15. My relationships were an endless cycle of abuse over and over. When my daughter reached the 5th grade, she went to live with her dad. That's when I got into heavier drugs. I experienced 3 big traumas in the span of 4 years. My grandma passed, and 6 months later, my sister died of cervical cancer at the age of 30. I was there with her every day until that day. Then my dad overdosed on meth in 2017 and passed away. Having that third goodbye to him absolutely broke me. I have very few memories from the 2 years that followed because I couldn't stop drinking, anything to take the pain away. I met my ex-husband in 2012. We married in 2015, and our son Owen was born that same year. He was physically and emotionally abusive throughout our entire relationship. He was also a functioning addict, and the first person to introduce me to using meth. My ex-husband abandoned us 3 years ago, left for Thailand, and stopped payments on everything. He started a new life there with a new family and left us with a house in foreclosure. Shortly after that, I was officially pronounced dead on the bench in front of the Salvation Army. After being rushed to the hospital, the doctors were shocked when I came back to life. My son was taken from my custody in 2021, and I was a mess. I remember a friend inviting me to a meeting at the Alano Club, which is a recovery support group. Before I left, I was given a list of names to call if I ever needed someone to talk to. My health was failing. I have a heart condition that was brought on due to using an alcohol. I remember crawling to my front door because I couldn't stand. And one night I got scared. I really didn't want to die, considering I never fully lived. I kept thinking that I didn't want my son to be without a mother. That's when I remembered the list of names I was given by the Alano Club. I remember choosing a random number and a female voice picking up the phone. I told her I needed her to come and take me out of my house because I didn't want to die. When she got there, I asked her if she would pray with me, and she did. Even though she wasn't a believer herself, she took me to her house where I slept until she took me to the Alano Club meeting the next day. That day I went to a meeting and I haven't stopped since. The statistics of people successfully staying off meth are extremely low, but I've always said that I want to be on that next survey. At 1 week clean, someone mentioned this church called Southside and how wonderful it was. On July 30th, 2023, I made the decision to go. When I looked around the lobby and the auditorium, I recognized other people from the recovery community there too. The music hit me hard. I began to feel like a weight was lifting off my chest. Then Pastor Mike started preaching, and there was something about the way that he explained Jesus that made me feel like I was home. Since then, I've started sitting in the same seat every single Sunday. I've turned my life and my will over to Jesus and invited him into every area of my life. I got baptized at 2 months clean, and it was a really big deal for me to publicly declare that I was living my life for Jesus. After having no relationship with my mom for 7 years, she came to celebrate my baptism with me, along with my extended family. I watched as God began to rebuild my relationships. I felt like I could call myself a mother, sister, daughter, aunt, and grandma again, after losing myself for so long. I went through Southside's Welcome Home class, where I learned more about our faith and how to connect with God. Through that class, I was introduced to Pastor Mike's 7R journal and his wife Corinne's devotional called Wake Up, Walk On. Those two resources and the stories that they tell in them taught me how to trust in Jesus and put him first in my devotions every day. As of June 17th of this year, I am 1 year clean and sober. I'm free of the hold of alcohol and crystal meth. My cardiologist has been running more tests on me to see if there's a glitch in my results. Otherwise, he's classifying the turnaround in my heart health as a miracle that could only have come from God. On Mother's Day of this year, my son Owen was allowed to come to church with me. We got our photo taken together, and it was the best Mother's Day that I could ever have hoped for. My goal in my prayer was to get full custody of my son on the last day of school. On Wednesday, June 26th, I was granted full custody of Owen, just in time to go with him on his end-of-school field trip to the water slides. I'm in parenting classes and I'm registering him for every event here at church and every sports club that I can. I can't erase what has happened throughout his life, but I can start now to be the best mom I can be. As for my daughter, I'm praying for God to help heal our relationship and my relationship with my grandkids. Recently, I've reached out to our church as we don't have enough money right now, and I'm making a plan to go back to school in the fall so I can get the best job I can for us. Our help team here at Southside let me know that through the Sunshine Fund, I'll be able to buy food, clothes, and necessities for the months ahead. Knowing that we'll be taken care of, and I get to focus on connecting with my son without worrying about where our next meal is coming from. Words can't express how much that means to me. I'm so happy to be alive, and I'm filled with joy I didn't know was possible. If Jesus could heal me, he can heal anyone, and I plan on sharing that for the rest of my life. Thank you, God, for my life, and thank you, Southside Church.
So that's what it looks like. Do justice, love mercy, walk humbly with your God. I think about that all the time. What does it look like when we come together and we walk humbly with our God? Really changes our perspective, doesn't it? Because when I walk with humility, I look and I see everything that Jesus has given me. So generous with me. He gave me mercy. He gave me love. He gives me hope. He gives me life. He gives me salvation. In other words, I guess what I'm saying is when I walk humbly with God, what I realize is that I'm as broken as anyone I'm ever going to meet. And Jesus made me whole. So when I meet someone in this world who's hurting or broken, I don't look at them as them. I look at them as us. I can relate. I need Jesus as badly as anyone that I'm ever going to meet. See, when you walk humbly with your God, when we together walk humbly with our God, we never become us and them. There is no them, there is only us. Men and women desperately in need of a Savior named Jesus. We're going to do justice because of what Jesus did for us, you know? He left his throne in heaven. He endured injustice throughout his life, opposition from Jewish religious leaders, betrayed by a friend, a mock, unfair, unjust trial, and finally, the most unjust thing that maybe has ever happened. He died an undeserved death on a Roman cross. He did that for you and me so that we wouldn't have to endure injustice. But he took us way beyond even justice. Mercy, grace, love, salvation. So surely then, we can extend that to others. And we love mercy. We love mercy. Can I tell you something? I think over the next day, over the next week, over the next month, you're going to have a chance to see how much you love mercy. There's going to be somebody in your life, and they just need a little bit of your time. If you talk to my kids and you talk to my wife, Corinne, one of the things that they'll tell you about me, and I'm not very proud of it, but throughout my life, I'm an ADHD guy, and they'll tell you that having a conversation with me is sometimes like this. I'm already walking out of the room while they're talking. I'm always on to the next thing, you know? So they're talking, I'm like, yeah, that's so awesome. I love it, cool, yeah, wow, yeah. But what I think is that sometime in the next day, in the next week, and the next month, you're gonna have the chance to give somebody the gift of your time, the gift of your attention, the gift of your words, the gift of your encouragement. I think sometime in the next day, in the next week, in the next month, you're gonna have a chance to just let somebody else shine, to use your talent, use your abilities to really put the spotlight, really encourage, really showcase. Maybe you'll get asked to do a speech at a wedding. Do a great job if you do, okay? You're gonna have a chance to focus on the other. And I think sometime in the next day, in the next week, in the next month, you're gonna have the chance to be generous. You're gonna look at a story like Jessica's story, and you're gonna decide, man, I actually love mercy. I love that Jesus extended mercy to me, and I love that I get to be a part of a church like Southside, and I can give. I can give so stories like Jessica's can keep playing out. We love mercy. We love mercy. We don't always feel like it, but when we step into it, man, it changes everything. We love it. We love it because we look around and we come to this realization that when we love mercy, when we live this way, what happens is that our kids, our families, our friends, our neighbors, man, they'll look at us and they'll say, I still don't believe what you believe, but I'll tell you something that I know beyond a shadow of a doubt. I know this about you. You believe what you say you believe, and that's incredible. It's so powerful. We just love mercy. We love mercy because when we extend mercy, we find out this most unexpected thing, this miraculous thing. It's called the upside down reality of the open-handed life. What did Woody Allen say again? He said, the heart wants what it wants. When you go beyond your feelings and you step into faith and you love mercy, you know what happens? God gives you a new heart. And now, when you do justice, when you walk humbly, when you love mercy, you know what happens? You're a blessing. And in a miraculous twist of fate, you are blessed beyond any way you could ever bless yourself through inward focus, self-centeredness, and living a life to get. It's the upside down reality of the open-handed life. So we do justice. We love mercy. We walk humbly with our God. Let's pray. With all heads bowed and all eyes closed, I just want to speak to you right now. Maybe you've been going to church for a long time, but you've never really put your faith in Jesus. Or maybe you're here today for the first time or the second time, and you stayed away from church for a long, long time because you looked and you met some church people, or you looked at some churches and you thought, man, they don't even believe what they say they believe. Can I ask you a question right now? Can we step beyond that? Can we look at Jesus? Because what I want you to know is that Jesus loves you. And there's a reason why you tuned in online today. There's a reason why you showed up in person today, because he wanted you to hear this. That he came and he humbled himself so that you could have mercy and grace. He died on a cross so that you could be forgiven, so that your hurts could be healed, so that you could move past your past. But not only did Jesus die for you, he rose again for you. And when he rose again, he just invites us, hey, follow me into a life worth living. Hey, let's live this life. Let's do justice together. Let's love mercy together. Let's walk humbly together. And his invitation, of course, is not just for today, not just for tomorrow, but forever. So with all heads bowed and all eyes closed, if today is the day that you want to take that step, put your faith in Jesus. Everything that needed to be done, he has already done. The next move is yours. Will you just put your hand up with all heads bowed and all eyes closed? If today is your day, just put your hand up nice and high if you don't mind. There's something powerful with that outward expression of that inward commitment. I love it. I love it. And if you're online and it's safe to do so, raise your hand right where you are. You can put your hands down. If you just raised your hand, I'm going to invite you to pray silently along with me while I pray out loud. So Jesus, thank you. Thank you that you came and you died. I pray that you would be my Savior. I hand you my sin and my shame, and I receive your fresh start, your new beginning. And Jesus, I thank you that you rose again. I pray that you would give me strength today, hope tomorrow, and the promise of eternity. I'm so grateful. And in the meantime, as I live this life with my family, with my friends in this city, could I follow in your footsteps? Give me the strength to do justice, to love mercy, and to walk humbly. And as I do so, I pray that I would be a blessing, because I know that through you I will be incredibly blessed. In your name, amen, amen. We can celebrate that. Hey, before I close today, I look forward to seeing you next week as we join together. There's just one last thing I want to say. I just want to say I'm proud. I'm proud to be a part of us. Not a building, not a service, not an organization, but a people. And I know we're not perfect, but I just want to tell you, I'm proud to be a part of you. I'm proud to see stories like Jessica's story play out. I'm proud that we're a church that spares no expense. We want to bring hope in every way that we can, so we preach the gospel. We want to bring home, so we try to connect people as well as we can. And just like Jesus did, we also want to bring tangible help. I'm so proud of us. We're not perfect, but we're still going to try. And we're still going to work. We're going to do justice. We're going to love mercy. And we're going to walk humbly with our God. And I know for sure that if we do that, the impact we're making is beyond our ability to even understand. I love you guys so much. We'll see you next week.
That was incredible. It's such a blessing to be able to be a part of stories and to help people like Jessica. And it's because of generous people, ordinary people like you and me. I love that verse that Pastor Mike read from James that says, religion that God our Father accepts as pure and faultless is this, to look after orphans and widows in their distress and to keep oneself from being polluted by the world. Our heartbeat as a church is to offer help, hope, and home to our city and to our community. And as you guys saw in the video, we were able to give Jessica and Owen clothes and groceries and necessities for the coming months. But we wanted to go above and beyond. And so we actually put together a little package of summer essentials to give them the best summer day ever. And in that package, we actually were able to give Owen a brand new bike. And what I think is so cool is that when our team dropped off the summer essentials and the bike, Owen actually said that he had been hoping for a blue bike one day. And you know, what I love is that we didn't know that. We didn't know that, but God did. And it's such a phenomenal reminder of how God cares about all of the little things that we care about. You see, we are always going to be a church who brings the hope of Jesus into hopeless situations. And because of generous people in this church, because of the generous people who have helped build this building, we are able to keep telling stories like Jessica's. If you want to join us, you can text the keyword GIVE to 604-670-3040. And that'll give you all of our online giving options. But if you'd like to give in person, you can actually give at the giving desk in the lobby. Today is the best day to start if you've been thinking about giving or you haven't given before. There's no mission like this mission. Love you guys. See you next week. Make sure you grab a freezy on your way out and stay cool out there.